We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 1st here in Seoul. I'm Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Happy Thursday, and Park Ki-hoon.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Last September, Seoul City launched a one-stop assistance task force for victims of stalking. Since its launch, 136 people have received help. This is the first task force where its officials cooperated with police. Once stalking reports are made to the police, victim information is then shared with the task force. The task force then schedules counseling meetings that navigates any legal, psychological, or medical support programs for victims. The city also hires a criminal profiler to analyze perpetrators and their next moves to better safeguard victims. This type of service was only available in the capital, but from today, it will be expanded nationwide. And the world's largest maker for random access memory chips, Samsung Electronics, on Wednesday revealed their semiconductor business report. The South Korean company saw a 34.57% drop in operating profits in the fourth quarter from a year ago. Throughout 2023, its semiconductor business fell into a record loss of more than $11.15 billion. But Samsung said things are looking better in 2024. The company expects to see moderate improvement in the first half of this year by focusing more on high-value products, advanced technologies, and AI functions on its smart devices. And we're soon going to enjoy the Lunar New Year, which falls on February 10th this year. Here in Korea, a common way we celebrate this holiday with our family is by doing sebae. This is a New Year's greeting where we bow down to our elder relatives and then receive handsome cash rewards in return called sebaedon. But a recent survey by SK Communications found that 4 out of 10 South Korean adults wanted to skip this tradition altogether. The survey asked 3,892 adults what they thought was a proper amount to give out as sebaedon, but 42.8% said they preferred not to receive or give out any, mainly because they thought it would put pressure both on those who had to give out money and even on to the receiving end as well. Now, the next popular response was giving out 50,000 won in sebae money, or around $38. This is the highest denomination for a single banknote in South Korea. Around 42.5% thought this was the appropriate amount. 10% of respondents in the same survey said double that amount would be appropriate, which is around $72. Now, it was pointed out how the public's perception towards sebaedon has changed over the years. Last year, the same survey found only 29% of respondents saying they would not give or receive sebae money, and this year we're already seeing 4 out of 10, so that's double the amount. So what do you guys think? How much do you think is the appropriate amount of sebaedon? Do you think we should just scrap it out altogether, or what's the appropriate amount?
Considering the current high inflation, I think $72 may seem like the appropriate amount to give. But like you said, it is a big burden to the people who actually give out the money. Seeing the current economic situation now, I can't really recall the last time I actually received any kind of sebaedon on Chuseok and Seollal. Just meaning that, I'm not young anymore.
Right.
I'm actually on the giving end right now, having a nephew and 2 nieces. But it is a waning tradition, which is quite sad to see as a Korean. But looking at the statistics that you just mentioned, soon most people will not be willing to give any kind of sebaedon on these traditional Korean holidays.
It's quite upset seeing a lot of our ancestral rituals and traditions fade away, but it does reflect the current socioeconomic status. And as you mentioned, the more I age, I realize giving out sebaedon could be a burden, because before I used to only be on the receiving end, but now I'm burdened to be on the giving end. But what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm also sad to see certain traditions go away from Korean culture. But yes, this is one part of the Korean culture that I still feel uncomfortable about. I mean, the money giving and taking part, not the actual Seollal or Chuseok events itself. I hate taking money from people, and my ego is always wanting to give more than I receive. But when someone gives me a large sum, as Ki-hoon mentioned, it's quite burdensome for me. So I just can't let anybody give me more money than I will give them. So that's because I feel like nothing in this world is free, and there's always some sort of hidden sort of thing behind it that they want something later on. So that's, I'm okay to see this sort of tradition go, and we could replace it maybe with something else.
Because you give out more than you receive, I know who to sebae to this year.
Yes.
Can I do it now?
Yeah.
Can I do it now? Can we do it right now?
Okay.
But anywho, that was our news feed for today, and we're going to switch gears into our main discussion topic of the day. Living in a digitalized society definitely has some perks. It's so easy to do anything with a simple swipe of the finger. As convenient as life can be with the use of mobile devices, it's also that easy for us to fall victim to many digital crimes, namely mobile phishing. Even people from the thumb generation, in other words, those in their 20s and 30s, are becoming easy targets. So I'd like to ask our panelists in the studio, have you ever fallen victim to voice phishing or phishing scams online?
I haven't fallen victim, but I have received a call from a friend who I haven't actually talked to in years. In fact, we weren't on the call each other up basis sort of friendship, though we get along quite well. Anyway, I ignored it, but just out of curiosity, I messaged the person, and in his reply, he called me Hyung, which means older brother in Korean, right? So he's actually never called me that before. He always just called me by my name. So I knew from that instance it wasn't him. But some people aren't so lucky. Older people in their 60s and up are not so familiar with the voice phishing scams that are going on and can easily be taken advantage of. And I actually have a little graph to show you. If we could just take a look at the screen, we can see that 1 of 3 victims to voice phishing in 2022 were actually subjected to voice phishing, and 14.5 billion Korean won was lost due to this scam, but it actually hit a record high of 30.2 billion Korean won in damages last year. So hopefully that number doesn't go higher and we figure out a way where we can stop this situation.
Exactly. Conventionally, people would think that people in their 20s and 30s, given that they're so used to digital devices out there, wouldn't fall victim. But we are seeing a growing number of millennials and Gen Z become victims of phishing scams. And Kyun, have you ever become one?
I was actually very close to being, scammed a number of times, but I tried to stay vigilant and think twice before clicking or answering any kind of, suspicious calls or messages, and then just end up ignoring it. But it is surprising to see that many youngsters, people in their 20s and 30s, become victims of smishing, which is a combination of SMS and phishing.
Right.
Even though we're born in the digital age and quite tech savvy, but this is mainly due to the advancement of AI technology. Within a matter of 30 seconds, mobile phishing incorporates AI to reproduce voices of family members and friends, and even their faces that almost seem like them in real person. Yeah.
Right.
So unless you can fully tell apart the difference and distinguish the two, you can always become susceptible to mobile phishing, which is a growing concern as AI is, continuing to develop rapidly right now.
It is. And some people who've never fallen victim might not be able to relate how believable a scammer could be. So for our viewers who might not understand, we're going to play out a scenario, a traditional scenario of what happens when you can fall victim into voice phishing. Kyun, Walter, and I are going to play a skit for you. If you guys are ready, we're going to play it now. All right, action.
One sec. Hello?
Hello, is this Kyun Park?
Yes, speaking.
Yes, I'm Walter Lee from the prosecutor's office. There is a warrant out for your arrest.
A warrant out for my arrest? Excuse me? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to hang up. Thank you.
Whoa, don't hang up, because if you do, you will admit guilt, and therefore the punishment will be far
Put it on
worse.
speakerphone.
This is also an obstruction of justice. Now, it seems that you made an illegal foreign transaction worth over $1 billion.
What? $1 billion? You don't even have $1 billion. You couldn't even buy me that bag last time.
But I'm broke. I have no money. Where would I get this money and make a transaction? It doesn't make sense.
It's a scam.
Whoa.
It is a scam.
Yes,
Number
scam.
one,
Right.
this is not a scam. Please do not hang up. You need to click the link that I'm going to send you via text. I'm sending you to fill out this form straight away. You must do it right now.
Wait, no, Kyun, don't.
Look,
don't.
it looks pretty legit.
No, no.
Should I click it?
No. That's a phishing scam.
sure?
Don't click it. And scene. Okay, what we did right now was reenact how voice phishing really happens. And you might find it could be a little silly given that you know all of us, but it's actually quite persuasive. People get a phone from the prosecutor's office or the police saying, if you don't click this link right now, all of your information would be revealed to the public, or you might be facing a lot of different penalties. So it is quite convincing. And as Kyun mentioned, with technology getting more advanced, we're seeing even more sneakier methods out there. So here in the studio, why don't you explain to us, Walter, how mobile phishing scams are becoming more believable with the advent of technology?
Yes, well, actually, Kiyun mentioned a little bit before, but like our Oscar-winning performance that we just demonstrated, voice phishing scammers can know a lot about you as a person. Example, your family, your location, your relationships, etc. And there have been many cases, and I've actually heard of serious situations where people have been copying the family members of the victim. In example, my friend, her mother got a phone call from what appeared to be her saying, "Mum, I'm being kidnapped. I need this much amount of money in this bank account straight away." Now, fortunately, she didn't send the money, but she did contact police. But yes, now with the invent of like AI, and obviously as Kiyun mentioned, how the faces are now changing, this is only going to get worse from here.
And also, in the skit that we just played out, there was a link that the scammer, Walter, asked Ki-hoon, the victim, to actually click to. Once you click that link, all of your personal information is revealed, and also your phone would be hacked, which gives more scammers access to your personal information, like your bank number, passwords, your personal chats, which makes you fall even more susceptible. And Ki-hoon, would you like to add on to how advanced AI technology is making it easier for people to fall susceptible?
Sure. Just to give you some cases from the victim's end, we're seeing many victims, people in their 20s and 30s, become swindled in different kinds of mobile phishing and get investigated by the police. In some cases, they were lured into high-paying part-time jobs from unofficial advertisement job sites and were under investigation after finding out that it was all a scam. There was even a case where a young victim felt very ashamed and embarrassed to share his mistake and vulnerability, and ended up taking his own life.
And as tragic and common as it is, I can't say that there should be more regulations to stop this. So here in Korea, what are some regulations to stop phishers out there?
Yeah, so well, here in South Korea, the prison sentence, I think, is a slap on the wrist compared to the actual crime. You can get actually a maximum of 6 years, and that's very light when you consider that you are ruining other people's lives. So, but last year, luckily in December, the National Assembly proposed a revision of the bill that calls for tougher punishments for voice phishing crimes, and hopefully we see a much harsher sentence.
Because as Q mentioned, sometimes people take their own lives from what could be like a simple prank call. It can turn out to change the course of your whole life, given the financial burdens that you'll have to go through and the mental stress as well. Now, phishing scams are common abroad as well, so how are other countries trying to deal with this?
Cyber attacks in the US are prevalent as well. An organization that provides services of prevention of spams revealed 12 most commonly used phone numbers to the public to reduce the impact and harm of phishing scams. And I think this is a very useful way to better educate the general public to not be involved in any kind of cyber attacks to begin with.
All right, that is a good method, and we'll find out more on how we can better prevent this. But in the meantime, we also asked our viewers if they've ever fallen victim to these phishing scams. If so, how? Take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to say. So user said, I got a phishing call about my bank account. I didn't fall for their tricks, fortunately. What worries me is that I'm a young person, so I know well about phishing techniques, but old people are very vulnerable to these tricks. James said, attempts on me and my colleagues via direct phone calls pretending to be from my bank. These days, I only answer calls in my contact list. The rest can leave a voice message, and I'll phone back if necessary. Benny said, I've never been phished before, and my reminder to online users that don't send your data and always think about your plans before you decide. These are some good tips and a few sad experiences from our viewers. And to better find out how we can better prevent this, we're going to include a criminology and criminal justice expert, and we're going to find out more about the latest phishing techniques and ways to better thwart any chances of becoming a victim. Let's now include Assistant Professor Fangzhou Wang from the University of Texas at Arlington, specializing in criminology and criminal justice. Welcome, Professor Wang.
Good morning.
All right, I'd like to ask you the first question. What are the most common phishing trends in the States at the moment?
Yeah, so I would see that there are two of them that are currently most prevalent in the States. So the first one is called malicious attachment. So phishing emails may include attachment containing, malware or ransomware, which is very, bad. And the users are typically tricked into opening this attachment, which then can infect their systems. And the second one is called business email compromise, which abbreviated as BEC. So BEC attacks involving, compromising the business email account to conduct, fraudulent activities such as requesting unauthorized transaction or gaining access to sensitive data set in the complaints.
That's quite interesting. So I just mentioned before how South Korea is trying to regulate their scammers in this situation. How is the United States trying to regulate phishers and scammers?
So I would say the primary thing that the state is currently doing is enacting a series, of laws and regulations aimed at addressing cybercrime, including, phishing and scams. So the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the CFAA, is one such a law in U.S. that is very famous and commonly used to criminalize, unauthorized access to the computer systems. And the second one, I would say, is the establishment of, different centers, such as, Federal Trade Commission Center and IC3, which, is the Internet Crime Complaint Center, which play a very crucial role in protecting individuals from the scam. They have all those kind of, awareness campaigns and the statistics to inform individuals from, being harmed by those scammers. And lastly, I would say, collaborating with industry. Government agencies, they actively collaborate with those industries in private sectors, such as, cybersecurity firms, to share the information to combat cybercrimes.
Professor Wang, are there anything that we should look out for and any tips you can share with us that we can incorporate into our daily lives to avoid these kind of, scams?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think in terms of phishing scams, always be skeptical of unsolicited emails. So be cautious when receiving, unexpected email from somebody you haven't contacted for a long time, especially those with, urge immediate action, claiming, urgency or ask for personal information. Always verify the legitimacy of the senders before you send out anything, including your information or the money. And always, avoid clicking on suspicious links. Sometimes those scammers, they just send out the emails containing a link. Always be sure to verify and go through, the URL of the link before you click it, because it could be fraudulent. And once you click it, your information will be totally gone. I think those two are the very critical points in terms of the phishing scams.
And Professor Wang, if I may ask one more question, do you think there's a specific time of the year that more victims come out? For instance, here in Korea, just before the holidays, we're seeing a lot of phishing scams surge. Is that the case like in the United States as well?
I think so, especially during the holidays such as, Christmas, or during other breaks when, the students are getting off their classes, they have more free time, especially during the spring break or during, the other holidays such as some, the mandatory holidays in the US. In those times, those people are sitting at home and, just shopping online, playing with their social medias. And that's when I think they have the greatest likelihood to fall into the phishing scams. Yes.
With many countries in Asia now waiting ahead for Lunar New Year's, I think we should be more vigilant towards these scammers out there. Thank you so much, Professor Wang. It was a pleasure hearing from you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And knocking on wood here, what should we do here in Korea if we were to ever fall victim to such phishing scams? Though I don't want to, because it's so common. What should we be doing?
Well, actually, I've had an email address for a long time, which I've changed recently because I noticed that I was getting a lot of spam emails. So I actually changed my email address to a new one.
Okay.
And that actually has helped a lot with me avoiding these phishing scams. But there are other certain types of measures that you can do to prevent you becoming a victim of phishing scams, especially when it comes to the ones on the phone. So they say that you should create a code amongst your family. And in this case, if it seems suspicious, you should use this word. Now, the key is you don't tell anybody, absolutely nobody. It's just in the family. It shouldn't be messaged through text. It should be a face-to-face thing. Not even your partner, your best friend, whatever. You should not let them know. It's only something between you and the family. Now, it would be hard, but you should always try and stay calm during the phone call because you're most likely to make bad decisions on emotions. So if you are able to stay calm, you should be able to make rational decisions based on what the person on the other line is requesting.
And I think another good tip that I would like to give out based on my personal experience, my dad actually received a phone call from someone that acted like me. I was crying, asking my dad for help, and then he asked one of his coworkers to wrote down my number, asking him to check if I was at home instead of being kidnapped as the scammer was making it out to seem. So collaborating with people around you, if something seems even a little fishy, is very important. Any tips of your own?
I think reporting the incident to the police or the financial supervisory service right away is obviously the quickest and the most effective way to resolve this kind of matter. But it is advised to be better prepared and educate yourself to prevent these kinds of scams before it actually happens by looking into different types and examples of phishing scams and knowing how to react accordingly, like so through cybersecurity. And I think just like what the professor mentioned, always be cautious and kind of like think twice before acting.
If I may add on, even if you try to report to the police, there are now cases where once you click on that link, all of your information is already revealed to the scammer. So they may even have access to your next call, acting as if they're a police officer. So the best suggestion that experts say is go physically, walk into the police station and see if any of your transactions have already been sent out. Though it might seem like a hassle, it's better to be very safe than sorry. So make sure to walk in person, go find officials for yourself, or even ask your friends. Use your friend's phone to check if all the information that the scammer is seemingly coming out as to be true is actually true or not. And it really comes down to what you do. So hopefully today's episode could help you boost up your digital literacy and how to be better prepared for any scams like this. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Park Ki-hoon.
It's always a pleasure.
All right, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.